wait till it goes live, and then I will. I usually get notified as soon as it goes. Oh, we're live. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, hello everybody. So sorry again for the delay. You gotta love technical difficulties. And also my dogs are here to say hello. You'll probably see them in a second. Welcome back. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to wherever you're watching from. My name is Jake Sussman. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a dyslexia and ADHD influencer, an entrepreneur, and founder of Superpower Consulting, a mentorship firm for those who have dyslexia and ADHD and connecting them with someone who's just like them. Now, since quarantine, I have been interviewing some of the coolest people, from parents to industry leaders to doctors and business leaders and people like you and I. And we all have at least one thing in common. It's that we all learn differently. Now, I have someone very special. Her name is Ashleigh, and she has a pretty remarkable story. And I want you to listen closely because her story may sound very familiar. Growing up with dyslexia and overcoming different challenges associated to her dyslexia, from social to emotional to academic, and now how Ashleigh has harnessed her dyslexia and turned it into a true superpower. So Ashleigh, welcome. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Jake, for that wonderful introduction, and I am so honored to be here and to share my story. Well, let's just get right into it.
Let's do it. Let's start by telling me a little bit about, let's go back to the beginning, okay? Because here's the thing, Ashleigh. We have a lot of moms out here watching this, and dads. And for those of you watching, I want to just encourage you, just ask questions. I want you to look at Ashleigh as the older version of your kids, okay? She's been there, all right? So don't hesitate. Let it all out, all right? Okay, now, Ashleigh, let's go back to the beginning. When you were first told that you have dyslexia, how old were you? What was it like?
Yeah, so I was in the second grade, and they first didn't tell me I had dyslexia. They just told me I was different and slower than the other kids. And so they actually took me away from my grade and put me in this reading intervention class that took away my recess. And as a second grader, I was like, whoa, that's precious time is recess. And so they would take me from my breaks and make me read. And that was something I did not like to do. I hated reading. And when they saw me read, they saw that I had every characteristic of a dyslexic. And so then that's when they told me, Ashleigh, like, you have this learning disability of dyslexia. You won't read like the other kids. You won't think like the other kids. Everything you see will be mixed up and different, and it's just something you have to deal with. And that was it. After that, they were like, good luck. I received no further help from the education system, and I was like totally and utterly defeated. I was like, wow, I will never learn. Education for me is impossible. I just heard all these adults around me say, good luck, you're different. Oh well, sorry, you just drew the bad luck of the pot or something. So for me, it was a very defeating moment in my life, to where I just thought all hope is lost. I'm totally and utterly alone. And no one in that room said, oh, here are some successful stories. Success is possible. They were just like,
it was like all doom.
Yep. So as a second grader, it was so discouraging to hear that, and to look at my life totally different of, well, who knows what it'll look like. I can't guarantee college because everyone had told me no. And so it was just, I didn't know what my life would look like. And so I was already labeled as different. So after that moment, I was like, well, I don't want everyone to think I am. So I just didn't tell anyone. And I just hid it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell my teachers. I'm not going to tell my friends, just because I didn't want people to be like, oh, there's Ashleigh and she's different. Oh no. So it brought a lot of anxiety and self-esteem issues growing up, to where I thought I had to hide my dyslexia. So that's kind of where it all starts.
Oh my goodness. And I feel like that going through that, having that experience so young as a second grader. I
Yeah.
mean, this little Ashleigh that was just told all these things, that how did that impact you socially? Were you just, was it just an absolute, like, did you think that the world was ending, or how did your parents react to it? Like, what was,
Um,
how?
I just honestly, I just took it and I just like almost like a hermit crab. Like I just wanted to hide. I didn't want to read in front of everyone. It changed how I acted in class because I didn't want people to pick up like, oh, she's different.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to read in front of class. I never wanted to spell. I didn't want other kids looking at my tests because I didn't want them to be like, oh my gosh, Ashleigh can't spell because granted, spelling's not my
Yeah.
strongest suit, but
I mean,
um
it's not mine either, believe me.
yeah, I hate all the silent letters and yeah, no, it just doesn't work. But I definitely wanted to hide and I wanted to kind of separate myself like everyone had told me I already was. And so I just kind of like listened to the adults and I just separated myself socially and it made my school a whole lot harder for myself because I did that. And I really wish I hadn't done that, but you know what? We live and we learn. So
Yeah, we live and we learn. And how long did you, because I look, I know a lot of moms are watching this, and sometimes, and if you're a mom or parent watching this and you're just learning your kids have dyslexia or a learning difference, let us know, because look, when you're first told that you learn differently or that you have a learning disability, it seems like the whole path gets foggy. You have no idea where Ashleigh's going to go. She can go in a million different directions and none of them seem good.
yeah,
It's
they're
just,
all going to be super hard and you're
they're
always
all
going to have to work
right,
twice as hard as everyone else.
right. So I can only imagine as a parent, for your parents too, like that. Now, are you the only child or do you have siblings?
So I'm the middle of three girls. And so my parents, I mean, we're all very completely different. I'm the only one in my family that has a learning disability of some sort. So to me, I kind of picked it apart from my siblings too, because I mean, both my sisters are super smart. And so as a younger me, I was like, oh, there's my sisters and then their dyslexic little sister. And so it was, yeah, I mean, it was even weird, like family dynamic wise. And I mean, my parents hadn't even really heard of dyslexia or ADHD. And so they were like, oh, what do we do? And like, we never looked up resources, we never looked up tools. We just kind of went with the educators and the specialists, and they just told me that you're just going to have to work hard. And they told my parents, your daughter's just going to have to work hard. So they pushed me to be dedicated to my school and to work as hard as I needed to.
Hmm. Did you feel that, like, what were some of your outlets growing up? Did you think that was it just like all bad news for you, or was there something that you started to learn about yourself when you were younger? Like, was it a hobby? What were some of the things you had to do to help maintain confidence, or was there really no confidence at all?
Um, no, that's a really good question, Jake. I love puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles
Nice.
are like my
Nice.
go-to. All my family are like, "Oh, Ashleigh, you're the puzzle master. Like you could solve anything." Because they took time, but I saw the bigger picture come together at the end. And for me, looking back, it's what I always wanted for my dyslexia. I always wanted somehow, someday, all my pieces to come together, and I realized why I have dyslexia. And so I think it was me having control of a picture and putting those pieces together to where I had control of the outcome, when it came, how it looked, when I was working on it, when I wasn't. And so for me, puzzles was a big outlet now looking
Was it
back.
like a 1,000 piece puzzle, or was
Oh
it,
yeah.
was it
Oh yeah. I mean, we're talking the big ones on whiteboards.
Wait, Ashley, can I just interrupt you really quickly?
Yeah, of
I
course.
just had a parent share something. Her name is Melissa. And
Okay.
Melissa, thank you for sharing this. Um, she said, we're 3 years into diagnosis, and I worry every day if my son is receiving the help he needs. This year's team is helpful and encouraging. Ashley, thank you for sharing your story and struggles. I just want you to know your story is impacting people around the world just by sharing. Just by sharing. And this goes to everyone watching. There's something so beautiful about sharing. Okay. And I know that this is it's an emotional story, it's a painful story. It's not fun. It's really not.
It's not.
It's not a fun, it's not one of those things you tell at a party.
No.
But it's so relatable, you know? So I just want to take a minute and acknowledge your sharing because it really helps. It really helps. Okay, so let's go back to the story. Melissa, thank you for
Thank you, Melissa, for sharing.
yeah, totally. And if that goes to anyone else, if you would like to share some of your stories, would love or have any questions, just please feel free to just blur them out. Okay. Okay, so puzzles. That's awesome. Was there like a certain picture or was it like scenery or was there one that you remembered?
Um, just like the scenery ones. I loved doing like mountain pictures. Um, Pictures of the lake, pictures of the beach,
Yes.
just like happy places that just like bring back like those vacation vibes and just being in a happy place and making that picture happen. I don't know how else to explain it besides it was just my outlet of being like, okay, there is good and I can do this huge puzzle, which means I can do my homework the next day. So,
So that would you say so that was the first moment when you realized that you can actually do something, that you actually can achieve something. Would you say
yeah.
like was it in the puzzles?
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome because for a lot of people, they're like, oh, puzzles, that's so random. But for you, it was everything. And that kind of started momentum for you to start to like, maybe you were like, if I could do this, maybe I can try that.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened. So you found these outlets. So you had puzzles. And when did you first learn that you were into puzzles? Was it in the lowest moment of your life, having like in the early years, or?
It was actually quite a few years after I found out I was a dyslexic. I mean, I would say sixth, seventh grade. So like halfway through my education is when I kind of found my outlet in puzzles. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, like the middle, I would say like the middle of my
Yeah.
education was when I first realized like, oh wow, there's other challenges in life other than my dyslexia, and I can tackle those, so I can tackle my dyslexia.
That's epic. That's epic. It's true though. And what an amazing thing to learn at such a young age. A lot of people, I believe that we're so inclined to, feel bad, and it is painful.
Hmm.
But you learn something at such a young age that helps shape you for where you are today. Now, it doesn't mean it was easy, right? Because so take me into middle school now, all right? You're in middle school, and I remember you telling me that there was a teacher or you were told like college is going to be a reach for you. Like it's like not going to be a thing.
Yeah, so in middle school, we have these things called like college prep meetings, and you sit with your counselor and you make your schedule for high school on, taking college classes earlier and kind of like your pathway into college and what you should be taking. And I remember going into those meetings just shaking because I didn't want them to tell me, oh, so you can take all these advanced classes and be going to college in high school when I thought all of that wasn't even possible for me to So to go into those classes and those meetings and say, hey, well, I don't want to take the advanced placements. I don't want to do all that. I was very scared to admit why. And so I had one counselor who was like, well, like, do you want to go to college? And I remember just sitting there shaking my head going, no, because I was told I can't. And she was like, you were told you can't? And I was like, yeah, I'm a dyslexic. And she just goes, oh, and that was it. And like, she was agreeing with that college is impossible. And I was just like,
Are you
yeah,
kidding
okay,
me?
okay, yep, I got it, lady. We're good. We got it. And so after that, I was like, well, I don't want to take the college placements. And so they made the plan to where I didn't have to take those right away, but I still could take them if I could. And later up down the road, I ended up taking a few of them in high school, basically to prove to myself that I could. So, yeah.
My gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. 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 Okay. Wow. So you were told this by
Yes.
a teacher,
Counselor
by a counselor
in middle school,
in middle school,
which are like the worst years of your life.
which are the worst years of your life.
Yes.
You don't want to remember middle school.
No, you don't.
That you were told that college isn't going to be in the picture for you because of your dyslexia.
Yep. And if it is, it's going to be so hard. Good luck even trying.
Who else is cringing right now? I'm like,
Right? I'm cringing just going back to that. I know.
I'm sweating listening to this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The
It was
fact that
quite an
comes out of it.
experience.
So you were told this, and you had two options, really. You either could have taken that and been like, I guess I'm a loser and I'm not going to do anything, and I'm just like whatever they told me, and I'm a nobody. Or you did the other way around. And I mean, clearly you did, because now you're in college and
Yep.
oh yeah, I hope this person somehow watches this video and is going to watch the one that they told when college will always be hard for you because you're dyslexia, because you're now in college and you're doing amazing things. I'm excited to get into what you're doing now, but what was that like? Like, did you think they were telling the truth, or?
I kind of just took it as like, oh, well, that's the adult way of thinking, and I'm still a kid, so watch me. It kind of almost like lit a fire under my dedication, because I'm like, in middle school, you have enough people telling you who you are or where you fit in, or, middle school is just middle school. And so I kind of took it as, you know what? Yeah, okay, it might be hard, but I'll try it. I wasn't opposed to the idea of trying hard, because growing up, I made school my life. I would come home, I'd do the homework, I'd try to get caught up in comparison to the other kids. So I wasn't afraid of working hard. You want people to be like, okay, yeah, you could,
Yeah.
and you want people supporting you. And so to me, it was well, I want to at least try, and if I fail, oh well. But at the same time, it's like I also wanted people in my corner, and I just didn't. So I felt very alone in that moment.
Did you ever have a like prove yourself mentality? Like, did you ever like be like, oh, I'll show you, or was it not like that?
It wasn't like an I'll show you. It was more of a I want to show myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I kind of realized in high school, when I wanted to be on sports teams and later on the student council. It was more of like, I just want to show myself that I can do more than just school. I can make an impact just with the school and being on student councils and sports teams and being captains. And it's like, I wanted to be a part of more than just school. And I didn't want to be that girl that just came home and did her homework like I had been doing
Right.
all growing up. So
Right. Did you have any mentors, or coaches, or anyone that was your role models growing up?
I had cousins that were always so supportive, and my family was always so super supportive. And I didn't really look out to my teachers or anything because I didn't tell anyone, and no one knew all the work that I'd been putting in. But my family, my cousins, they all did. And so I looked up to them because in all reality, they were the only ones that knew about my dyslexia because I didn't tell anyone.
You didn't tell anyone. Gosh, what point did you feel comfortable to talk about it? Because you're talking to the world about it right now. I mean, you're not just talking about
Yeah.
it. There's people watching you from around the world. So, like, what happened? Where was your aha moment that you're like, wow, this is actually kind of like a superpower?
So it actually wasn't until my junior year of high school when I had a teacher who, it was actually in my physics class, and he noticed how I looked so confused in class, but then came back the next day knowing the material like the back of my hand. And he asked me one day, he was like, Ashleigh, I don't mean to offend you, but is there something about your education that you're just not telling me? He thought I had some private tutor or something. And I told him that I was a dyslexic. And he was the first teacher that I had just like come out and told that I was a dyslexic and that I have a whiteboard in my room. And every night I was doing his physics assignments 5 to 6 times on that whiteboard to try to figure out and understand the concepts. And it was in that moment that he said, Ashleigh, how many years have you been doing this for? And I said 9 to 10 years. And this is just how I study. And he was like, Ashleigh, that's insane. Like
9 years.
That I had been doing this study technique of a whiteboard in my room all the time, doing assignments over and over and over again. He's like, I have some kids who I can't even get them to do it once. I can't even get them to do the assignments
the whiteboard. Take me through your strategy.
Yeah, so I do the assignment in class, and I would get all the help from the teachers. And so then I would go home and I would treat that whiteboard as a brand new assignment. I would look at the question and I would cover up the work that I had done in class, and I would just redo that whole problem on this whiteboard. And
how long did that take?
Oh, it takes hours. It's an hourly long process. But I did it until I got the same answers as the teacher. So however long that took is however long it took. So with my physics questions, it was, I'm going to get this till I either memorize the equations or I can look at the problem and know exactly what it's talking about. And it took hours for sure.
Wow. I don't even think I can, wow. That's, so you would take the whiteboard and you would literally just redo it again.
Yep.
And again until you got it right.
Yep.
And you just
To
did
where
that.
I felt confident going into class the next day, knowing what I had learned in the past to learn what was new.
Wow.
Because before I would go to class, not know what the heck happened, go the next day, not know what happened, and then I'm behind.
Right. Okay, so
to me, it was catching up to the other kids.
I have a sub question for you.
Okay.
And for our parents watching this, let me know what you think about this. And if you want to share, just go ahead and just post them below, okay? But there's this idea at Superpower Consulting that we create a willingness to learn. You can invest in all the resources. You can invest in tutors, in therapists, in all the professionals out there, in private education. But if the students, if the person is not open to learning it, it becomes challenging, right? That's willingness to learn. That's the motivation. So you clearly were motivated to learn, because to spend that amount of time, Ashleigh, to do the problem not once, not twice, but multiple times, because you knew that you had to get it right. You had to focus and do that. That's challenging. So you clearly were motivated to learn. It wasn't like you weren't. Where did the motivation come from? Were you always motivated to learn, or did you find it along the way?
I honestly think I've always had it, but if
Okay.
it weren't for my dyslexia, I wouldn't know I have it. And
Interesting.
I see it as more of it's almost like a partnership with my dyslexia, because if I didn't have to work as hard as I do, I wouldn't know what hard work is. And so I take my motivation and my dedication to things, I thank my dyslexia for that. Because if it weren't, dyslexia wouldn't have taught me that. And so really that motivation comes from my dyslexia. And that's when I heard your concept about, you know, ADHD and dyslexia is a superpower. It is, because it has taught me more than life could.
Wow. Because a lot of people think it's not. A lot of people out there are like, how can dyslexia be a superpower when these kids are struggling through pain? And it doesn't, how you can't relate it to like Superman or these big famous people because they made it, but we can't expect all these kids to make it like that. But it's so much more,
Mhm.
it's so much more. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think of it in relation to like Superman. I mean, his superpower is strength and being able to fly and save the world. But it's like if he didn't have those, he wouldn't be able to save the world. He wouldn't have that superpower to be different to save the world. And it's like, I mean, what's another superhero? Um,
Spider-Man? Wonder
Spider-Man.
Woman?
Like without his spidey senses, he couldn't be Spider-Man. So it's like without dyslexia, I can't be the motivated and determined person that I am.
Can't be Ashleigh.
I can't be Ashleigh without my dyslexia, which is so weird to say now because I would have never thought I'd ever say that. But it's something your company has taught me. It's something that now looking back, my challenges with dyslexia have taught me. I just never thought that it would be teaching me that, so I didn't look for that.
It's about perspective.
Hmm.
We can either look at it as a deficit, we have to embrace it.
Hmm.
You can't ignore it. But do you let it define who you are? And a lot of it could be who you are.
Hmm.
But a lot of times, actually, people, and I'm sure this may have happened to you, or maybe not, because of just your mindset. But I've spoken to a lot of kids that go through our program. We've worked with over 85 kids and young adults since last March, okay, through mentorship. It's unbelievable, right? So I can't tell you the amount of times I was told that by someone, I can't read due to my dyslexia. I can't do math, or I can't focus because of my ADHD. And I was like, can you really not read? Or is it just really challenging? Because there's a significant difference. And that's where I'm like, are we going to let it define us, as in the challenges associated? Or are we going to find the way that, you know what? Those who look at the world differently are the ones that are going to change it. And that's what
And
we're doing.
I definitely went through that whole process. As a kid, I was like, man, I can't even look at mom because the way my dyslexia is, my M's and W's are flip flopped. So like mom to everyone else looks like wow to me. And so when you read those kid books and they're like, mom fed the cat, or like hop on pop. I mean, it's just like
Oh,
flip and flop, and oh my gosh, it was nuts. And so I was like, wow, I can't read. I can't read. I can't read. Oh, like I don't even want to do it. I don't even want to look at a book. But it wasn't until I just realized, like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it, that I learned about my dyslexia and I learned what it was for me. And then I enhanced it. Just, I learned from it. And that's something that I can say years looking back. And I wish I had known in the years going forward instead.
I mean, you're still pretty young. You got some time to start looking at the years.
I know, but
Yeah,
the
but
general education that everyone goes through, I wish was a
Totally.
little different.
Totally. Yeah. Hey, you know what? That's okay. And look, Ashley, there's a lot of parents watching this, and they're looking at you like, wow, my daughter or my son can be like this, can be in the pain now, but there's hope down the road. What Two things. If you were to go back to younger Ashley, okay,
Okay.
that moment when you were just told by that teacher or that guidance counselor that you would never go to college because of your dyslexia, that moment, what kind of advice would you tell younger Ashley?
Ooh.
You could think about it. I'll give you some time to think about it.
um, I would honestly just tell the younger me, honestly, I would tell her there and then that it is a superpower, and to learn that now, because you're gonna learn it someday, so learn it now, and to just enhance it. And it's part of who you are. And so if who you are isn't supposed to go to college, that's fine. But don't think that you can't. Don't put that limitation on yourself. And if you want to go to college, you can. You can do whatever you put your mind to, despite if you have dyslexia or not. Because honestly, I mean, since my dyslexia is my superpower, it's not a limitation. It's nothing, it's not a fence, it's not a brick wall. It doesn't hold me in at all. It honestly just gives me wings to fly higher than what I thought was even possible for myself, even without my disability.
Wow. I mean, that motivated me for sure. I mean, it's just ironic in not a bad way, because people think that dyslexia is like this terrible thing, the D word, you know,
Yeah.
or ADHD or a learning disability. Like it's this huge, like the
Scary
world is
monster
it's the
almost.
monster.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for feeling that way, but it's just, if you look at it from a new way,
It's
sure,
all about
it's
perspective.
going to be a little bit more challenging and there's going to be a lot of tears. But on the other side of
Oh, yeah.
that, if we can help our kids identify their strengths and optimize their strengths, then you know what? This is our, are you going to change the world? You change the world by helping yourself, right? Because you impact other people. Melissa, that was just watching you, right? Something you said just caused her to express herself. You impacted her. So therefore, you know what? I'm going to say you just changed the world. Just by that. Just like that. Just like that. Without even doing anything. And that's the most amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. And I think you're giving me way too much credit, but thank
I'm
you.
giving you credit. I'm definitely giving you credit, but it's where it's due though, because you've been through it. It's not like you're just talking fluff. Like you were in the trenches. You were down there and you were just getting beat up, and
Yeah.
you came out on the other side a stronger woman, a stronger person, you know?
Thank you.
But it wasn't easy. And that's the point. And for the parents watching, there's going to be a lot of downs. There's going to be a lot of lows, and there's going to be a lot of highs, but we just got to keep looking, because I always say this, that even during the worst hurricanes, the sun's still shining above the clouds. It's still shining no matter what. All right. Okay, Ashley, tell me about, so you go to high school, you go through high school, you get into college. Okay.
Yes.
You get into college. I want to know, what was it like when you got that, when you opened up the big pamphlet and you said and it said congratulations. What was going through your mind? What was that like for you? I mean, knowing your story now, it must have been absolutely unreal.
I mean, for me, it was kind of like looking over at like a city, and I'm just like, man, this is cool. I wasn't only accepted to one college, I was accepted to many. And so when I had all of those congratulations letters laid out on my bed and looking at all of them, I'm just like, holy cow. Like, okay, this is cool. I like this view. um, but then
Oh my God.
it also kind of stressed me out because I was like, oh my goodness, like all these schools want me to attend, and it was like all these schools want to be a part of my journey. So it was like, how do I pick the right one? How do I pick which one's going to fit me? Which like program do I want to go into? And so as like aha moment as it was also like the okay, can I really do this? And I kind of had to face all the adults in my head saying growing up, good luck, you're gonna have to work hard, because like I knew college was gonna be hard. I knew it was gonna be hard. um so in that moment I actually let my anxiety kind of take over for a little bit, which probably wasn't a good idea. But after I kind of came off of my can I really do it, um picking a college after that was just something I never thought I could do for myself. But walking through that whole process of picking a college, picking scholarships, picking where to live, it was just all almost comforting to know that this was possible for me and I'm about to go do this.
Oh. So you find the Morelli Foundation, right? Right.
Yes.
And I want you to tell everyone about the Morelli Foundation. And like, it's the most unbelievable. They're incredible. And if you have a child who's dyslexic, who's trying to think about colleges and are interested in STEM, this is a foundation that gives scholarships to dyslexic college students with an interest in STEM. Okay. I mean, it's amazing. So Ashleigh, tell me about the Morelli Foundation.
Yeah, so I found it actually through a school counselor of mine. I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, he knew I was a dyslexic. He was the one that actually helped me get my 504 and IEP in my junior year." And I was like, "Hey, now that I'm realizing that there's resources out there for me, are there scholarships for students like me?" And he showed me the Joseph Morelli Foundation, which is a scholarship foundation in memory of Joseph Morelli, and he loved the STEMs. And so, in honor of his interests, he was a dyslexic and ADHD. And so, they started the scholarship fund under his name. And like Jake said, if you're a dyslexic or ADHD and you want to go into the STEM fields in college, they will support you. And the thing that I've loved about the Joseph Morelli Foundation is that it's not just a scholarship, it is a community and it is a family. And once you get that scholarship, they want to fund you, they want to support you, they want to hear about what you're doing, and they want to be with you every single step of the way, which has made my life so much better because it just shows me how many people I have in my corner. And why it's possible is because not only am I doing this for me, but I'm doing it for the people that are willing to work with me. So it's super cool. And if your child is going into that, definitely look up their foundation because it is a family. It is for sure a family and a community.
Absolutely a family. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I know that you're also a mentor as well. You're
Yes.
working with kids
Hmm.
with dyslexia and ADHD who struggled the way that you did. Why do you want to be a mentor?
Honestly, I just don't want kids to go through this alone. I went through it alone and it made it so much harder than it needed to be. And the reason why I love Superpower Consulting is because it's based off of relatability and being able to say, hey, I get you. I've been where you are. I've felt what you felt. I've seen things the way you see. I've had people look down on me the way that they're looking down on you. And it's okay, and that there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and there's so many more doors for you that are open than you think aren't, but they're there. And I just want to help people realize that those doors are there, that success is possible, resources are possible, and that people still want to work with you, even though you might see things a little bit differently, but that's okay. If anything, it's like Allah, fresh
It's like,
perspective. So it's awesome. So I just don't want people to feel like they're alone in this, because if there's anything I would change about my past is not knowing about the resources, and that feeling of being alone is something that I don't want anyone else to go through in this, because it makes it more harder than it is.
Yeah. Wow. This was fun. It was fun. And thank you for your bravery to share your story, because you weren't able to at one point.
Not at all.
And it takes courage to put yourself out there. And so I just really thank you for that. And if you are interested in working with Ashleigh, with learning about the Joseph James Morelli Foundation, about Superpower Consulting, or you just have a question, just please reach out. You can ask in the comment section below. I'll be hanging out a little bit on Facebook to answer, or just shoot me a message. But just know that we're here for you. And we're doing this because we wish we had this when we were kids. We wish that there was someone that was the older version of ourselves that we can look up to and say, wow, this person also felt the pain that I'm feeling and is not trying to fix me, actually gets me. Gosh, I wish I had that.
Me too.
And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Now, Ashleigh, is there anything that you'd want to just leave us with, or any tips, suggestions, ideas, thoughts?
Just looking back at everything and being where I am right now, if there's any message that I'd want to send to any other kid, young adult, college student, whoever is listening, take it from me that you are not alone. You're not alone in this, and that success is possible. You are resilient. Whatever you're working on, you can do it, whether it's math or it's science or it's reading, whatever it is, you can do it. That success is possible, and that you can make a difference despite what people are telling you. If you have a disability, it's not a disability. It's wings to grow, and it is a superpower, and it makes you cool, and it makes you unique, and don't be afraid to show it. And I just hope that they can just feel that success is possible, because I didn't think it was, but success is possible. You just have to keep going.
Yeah, don't stop. Don't stop.
Just keep going.
Don't look back.
Yeah.
You know what I see? You know what I see it as? Oh gosh, that's so good. It's like you're on this highway, and I've said this before. It's like you're on this highway and your friends are in a Ferrari and you're in a golf cart.
Yes.
And you're just like, you're going, and they're going really fast and you're going super slow. But meanwhile, you're like, oh, I'm going to go over here. And everyone's like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But meanwhile, what they don't know is that you're getting in a rocket ship and you're about to launch over here and get to the finish line. And that's what it's like. That's what it is. So thank you. Gosh, that was awesome.
Thank you. And Jake, you literally just totally explained my after high school, because after high school, like, I kind of, like, all my friends were on like that college route, and I actually took like a little loop and went to cosmetology school, and now I'm back at college. So it was like I kind of like snuck in another career there, and all my friends are still like at college, and they're like, man, I don't have a career yet, and I'm like, I'm paying my way through school. So it's okay to take those little diversions on things that you're passionate about. It's totally okay to do that, and everyone's at their own speed. So just keep going.
Yeah, totally. It's so important. Wow, this was a lot of fun. This is great. This
I
is
had a
good. I've been
blast.
feeling
Thank
that
you so
we're
much,
gonna have.
Jake.
I've been feeling that we're gonna have you back on here.
Okay.
So again, thank you. And for those of you who are watching us now, just letting you know, on Thursday at 12 o'clock, I'm interviewing Faith Borkowski at Teach My Kid to Read. She's awesome. Okay. She really changes kids' lives with giving them the opportunity to learn how to read. And she has such an amazing approach. And I'm so excited to bring her on. So get ready on Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern time. But with that, I want to wish you a good evening. And Ashleigh, again, thank you so much for getting vulnerable, being brave, sharing your story. And thank you all for joining us. Give a good shout out to Ashleigh, whether it's through a like or a heart or a comment. Just an amazing story, very inspiring. So thank you again for joining us, and see you next time. Bye.